All right, welcome back to The Hill. So we are now seeing a dramatic switch in voting patterns, at least according to some new polling, and that could potentially have broad implications for the presidential election. It boils down to those who are more likely to vote. Stirewalt is here to break it all down. Chris?
We're just randomly throwing
Did they just take your graphic? There you go. It wasn't me.
This is a choose your own adventure. We'll just throw up a graphic and you come up with a narrative for it. Okay. So, New York Times recently had a piece talked about asking this question, which is one that I like. What if everybody who was eligible to vote voted? We had the highest turnout election ever in 2020. 66% basically of the electorate voted. What would happen if everybody voted, though? For a long time, for the life of most of the people at this table, obviously not Denise, but for the lives of most people on this table, the story of the Democratic Party was this was the party of most people, but they couldn't always get their voters to the polls, and they focused on turnout, and Republicans tried to hold down turnout, right, because their voters voted at higher propensity. But in this New York Times analysis of the data, what do we see? Among voters with no history of voting whatsoever, non-voters, who are going to vote, Donald Trump wins handily. The last vote in 2020, people who voted last time, that means people who skipped the midterms, Trump wins. Midterm voters, Biden wins. What does that tell you? What does that tell us? It tells us that the parties have changed lanes and changed positions. The Democratic Party used to be the party of the working man, right? They used to be rural, small town, and all that jazz. That was the Democratic Party. That was Franklin Roosevelt's party. That was Harry Truman's party. That was Lyndon Johnson's party. What's the Democratic Party now? Well, it's kind of Dwight Eisenhower's party, right? It's suburban, it's affluent, it's educated, and that's the direction that it's moving. It's urban and suburban, where the Republicans are small town, working class, rural. That's what's happened. Here are the numbers. Vote by wealth. Who's rich? And who's voting for who? You see in 2000, among the wealthiest Americans, George W. Bush whooped Al Gore. He whooped him, but good. What happened for the wealthiest Americans in 2024? The margin is substantially, well, I don't know that those numbers are right, but they are some numbers that are on a screen. So we're going to move off that graphic right away. So Democratic-leaning voters' view of the economy, how is this connected? Look at the view of these voters, these propensity level voters, people who say 2022 primary voters, those are the most frequent voters. No vote in 20 or 22, those are the lowest propensity voters. Look at the difference. Rich people vote more than poor people. Rich people say that the economy is good. Poor people say the economy is bad. Maybe not surprisingly. Who gets hit by inflation first? Working class and poor people. Who are the last people to stop experiencing it? Working class and poor people. That's great if you're a Republican, right? Because you now are the party of the people. Republicans used to not like being, they compared them to the Monopoly Man and Mr. Peanut. Republicans did not like being called the party of the rich. So congratulations, Republicans. Now you're the party of the rich. You're not the party of the rich. Mm-hmm. But look at this. Look at the results of recent special elections. Here they are. Tom Suozzi in New York, bloop, flips that seat. Tim Kennedy out in Ohio, or also in New York, bloop. Why? Because rich people vote more than poor people on a per capita basis. One wealthier voter, one college-educated voter, one suburban voter votes at a higher frequency than those folks. So you shift coalitions and you shift your needs. And now this is something for Democrats to think about in their new reality.
Stirewalt breaks it down. So we talk about, along that theme, let me ask you, we talk about inflation and the economy, it's the top issue.
Right.
How does that fold into sort of everything right now as we move closer toward when people really start to pay attention to all this type of stuff?
Well, let me put it this way. The Republicans spend a lot of time making it harder for people to vote. They are into making it harder for people to vote. And I get it, because they're worried about fraud, and I understand where they're coming from. This is like a deep-seated thing. But what do those numbers tell us? They should make it, if anybody should make it easy to vote in this country, the Republicans should make it so that you can drop off a ballot as you're going through the Hardee's drive-through. The Republicans should make it so that you can trade your ballot for a cheeseburger. Why do poor people vote at a lower frequency than rich people? It's not that they're worse citizens or worse people. They're busy.
Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.